welcome to my show. This is Dan with Emergence Talk Show, where I interview artists and musicians and writers from around the country and around the world. And today I have artists from DeviantArt. His name is Parker Weston. He does several types of creative, artistic things, anywhere from collage to writing to music creation. Got him on the line right now, and let's find out how he's doing. Hey, Parker, are you there?
Hi, Dan.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? What's the weather like over there?
Well, it's already summer. The hell on earth has arrived, and I'm not looking forward to working outside.
You live in Arizona, right?
Yes, Mesa, Arizona. I'm from here, actually.
Like, I picture, like deserts and, sand dunes and tumbleweeds just tumbling by. Is that pretty much what it's like?
Well, that's what I think tourists are hoping to see. But nowadays, in this area anyway, it's pretty much welcome to anywhere. You have your Starbucks and Circle K and Walmart on every corner practically. And it's sad because it's really stamping out all of the family businesses, and all the things I grew up with have kind of just disappeared. Very generic.
Do you draw a lot of inspiration for your art locally, or is it just something totally separate like that?
Yeah, as of right now, I'm operating outside of the local art community. I do have some prospects. I will be featured in a gallery soon, but it's kind of been more a desert in more ways than one, as far as, squeezing blood out of a turnip in a sense of creation goes. I mean, really, I learned early on that you have to kind of have an anthropologist mentality growing up around here to find something different, because it's not just going to find you. When
I think of Arizona artwork, I think of, kind of an Indian influence, like Native American Indians. Nothing like what I see on your DeviantArt account. It seems like your art's more surrealistic. Like the assemblage art that you do, is that mostly like parts of garbage that you find, or things from thrift stores? Where do you come up with that?
All artists have their rituals. You mentioned surrealism. Dali had his strict magic, but mine is much more open. I realize only when I'm active, that methods are nothing. Just being aware only of my environment while maintaining an introspective eye, key to accumulating, these crude objects from trash cans and alleys and giving them a role in some new form. You probably noticed the inherent sort of barbaric look common in my work feels more natural to me, as opposed to forcing a smooth, elegant look. I'm just drawn more to the beauty of grit, and it's everywhere all around us. I just think you have to be open to receive this kind of post-consumerism.
So your art seems to take a lot of directions. You like to compose music. You like to write. It seems like short stories and poetry. How did that end up happening?
Well, I had drawn and painted all my life, but I just realized that I would not want to restrict myself to any one medium. I mean, it's really something when you can surprise yourself with, keeping an open mind and not really adhering to a constricted style, that you surprise yourself in the difference in expression from medium to medium.
So you don't really promote yourself much. I think that's what you were saying to me. But you are having an art show soon?
Yes, I recently just got accepted into the Firehouse Gallery in downtown Phoenix here. That, I guess it's promotion. The art of business is still something I'm, managing to grasp. I mean, I spend so much time just on creating itself that I feel like I put it out there, and sooner or later, the right people, the right attention will come of it. But again, just like any other world, this came about through someone that I work with, and they knew the owners and put in a good word for me. And, all of a sudden, things that have been, collecting plenty of shelf life around my house are ready to be dusted off and shown locally. But I always think it's such an odd thing that more people all around the world have given me feedback about my stuff than, hardly anyone around here locally has as of yet.
You mentioned locally. Do you share your art with your family? And do you get support from your family?
They show just as much support as needed, as far as when they realized I started making, doing this upcycling with art, just with, random objects. It seems to find me now through friends and family. Someone here or there will say, "Oh, I found a piece that I think you could use something with." Yeah. I mean, I don't expect really, again, my local environment, anyone really to because I've paid attention to what's going on locally, but maybe I'm not looking in the right areas, as maybe others aren't for me. But I'm not really seeing much, and in a positive way, much similarities with I do. And I mean, I think I just was more inspired by, like you said, surrealism. Before that, the Dadaists, and most of the European art. The
writing that you do, that's do you consider that to be abstract writing, or you consider yourself to be a storyteller, a poet?
I write what I write, and I don't think about the classifications. I think, in an open-ended, open to interpretation sort of way, I like the viewer or the audience to complete the works, by coming to their own conclusions. I don't like to tell people what to think or feel. I myself consider myself an audience member until just, I'm ready and willing and open for the impetus, the motivation to come to me. So I like to, blur the lines between poetry and prose. And I think in that way, syntax should have no importance, in creative writing, as little as possible anyway. And I try to filter that. So, I'm working on a novel that's the contents of which I'm not sure are quite appropriate for the show, that being loosely based on my time spent as a adult shop janitor. That I'll say it's fiction heavily laced with nonfiction, because some of the most depraved parts of it are true. So, kind of balancing out, along with the utilizing the cut-up technique to, integrate fully poetry and prose.
Okay, well, that sounds interesting. I'd like to read that book. When you come out with it, be sure to message me a link where I can get a copy.
Definitely.
Right now, I will tell you.
I was going to say, I will tell you the title of it is called Cumbug. And that's all I'll say.
I'd like to play a piece that you composed, and I was lucky enough to have read by a friend of mine named Echo Luna. Hold on for that, okay?
The Slug Solves Itself by Parker Weston. The idiocy of mainstream culture is complemented by the naivety of counterculture's manufactured rebellion and marketed independence. Both ends of the spectrum after shallow, pleasing options to occupy and indulge in artificially. Anything to divert minds from the worry of the inevitable void of transcendence, where love and fear, light and darkness, good and evil, etc., are exposed for what they really are. Pointless, mortal perspectives. Even self-proclaimed outsiders cannot help the sinking feeling of helpless uncertainty when pondering the indefinable beyond. Death just might taunt us. Within imprisonment in our lifelong ignorance, instead of launching us into eternity as was expected all our lives, the furthest point from the outsider is an island within that is infinite in its loneliness.
All right, and that was The Slug Salts Itself. It was read by Echo Luna. What was the meaning of that, though?
It's unlike probably a majority of the stuff I write, it being more automatic through the cut-up technique, the word collage. I was really, that came in through meditation. And even though, regardless of how some might perceive the tone of it, it's sounding darker, I think it's really a calming effect for me especially when, I hear someone else read it. Just the idea that, supposed free will and our inclination to be individuals, I can't help feel there's a grand irony in that we're all different, yet we're all the same. And despite even a vast, variety of differences, it's grasping at something that I can't really translate rationally, but only I know when I ponder it, it soothes me. In general, an escape from materiality.
The writing, it's how long have you been doing that, practicing your writing?
Well, since on and off since I was a teenager. It started out as, a catharsis, and then I realized once discovering writers like Burroughs and really too, especially through him, Brian Geison's art, and as the true creator of the cut-up technique, all of a sudden I realized I didn't have to write solely from the heart because it was becoming more and more trite and monotonous. I liked the idea that I could play with words just as much as images, by dissecting, rearranging structures, the structures that impose guidelines, yes, on our so-called free will. I find comfort in that you can make, something creative into a code maybe you don't even understand, but you're just a conduit or acting as one for something that someone else, out there may be able to come to their own conclusion on. I don't like to tell people what to think or to impose, my mentality or my opinions, which are arbitrary, on others. But if that can spark something in someone else, then that is more rewarding to me than just pushing what I do on people.
The music, is that something new? You've been working on musical pieces, composing music lately?
Yes, it's something I've only recently gotten into. The more and more I got into experimental music, sound collage, electroacoustic experiments, field recordings, plunderphonics, et cetera, the more it opened me up to the idea that, all music is noise. It's just the more melodic and predictable is what is popular. And, at times, I hear reactions like, oh, that music hurt my ears, and then I'm reminded of something the composer John Cage said about, it's not so much that they meant that music hurt their ears, more so it was their mental attitudes towards what they think music should sound like that were hurt. And I've thought about like different labels that would be put on it and whatnot. And one thing that Stapleton of Nurse with Wound described his music, which I can admit mine sounds similar to, or I'd like to think that he called his music, some of his music, musical debris. And I thought, oh, that perfectly fits it if there's any label at all. Just kind of elaborating on a minimalist approach with the idea that anything at all, even silence or what we think is silence as music. I don't I don't have the skill of the jazz musicians that I admire, but I try to have the ear and improvisational approach of one. And again, just having the mentality that I am not a musician, just an artist interested in sound. And working with it digitally really, I mean, has opened me up to the mathematics involved and enhances the abstract urge behind it all. You know, sort of like, just like anything I do, it's cathartic on some level, and this music is, I see it as sort of sonic exorcisms. It really, through the noise, some of it is very harsh. It feels, it purges in a way. But pretty soon, me and my wife are making our own instruments, mostly percussion, and my project Stembrio, it will soon venture into more organic territory. Right now it sounds pretty electronic, or like damaged electronics, you could say. But I think even with the digital possibilities making expression like this more accessible, you do have to return to the analog blood, sweat, and tears, if you will.
It sounds like you do like a collage of sound samples. Do you source those samples out from other places, or do you record them yourself, or what do you do?
Little of both. The more and more it is still pretty new to me, but the more and more I'm acquainting myself with this sort of music, the more I'm keeping tuned to just, again, you know, as a practice in daily awareness, I could be anywhere and hear whether it's birds chirping or, you know, a garbage truck down the street. It's and I really like the idea that the sound itself, the raw sounds, do inspire me to take them and sort of mutate them into something completely different from what I heard before.
I'm going to play a piece here that you provided me. It's called Dan Sees the Sun Shine Daily. Hold on one sec for that. All right, and that was Dan Sees the Sun Shine Daily by Parker Weston.
I think I'm pandering a bit with that title, but
I know you were teasing me with that, right? Because it's like you named it after me. I think that was after something someone said to me on my DeviantArt profile picture.
Yeah, I wanted to pander just a little bit to you. You know, that's just for you, Dan.
You know, I noticed, you know, your art, the assemblage, you know, the music, even your writing tends to be like dark, like kind of a little bit scary. Are you like a scary person?
No, I think it's scary and kind of dark that people get that from me. But again, I'm not the best judge of my own work. I don't think any creator is, but I think it's, again, comforting to me rather than, I would say one man's dark is another man's shining white light. And maybe that does sound a little scary, but to me it makes perfect sense, even if I don't know what perfect sense means.
It's just that it seems like a lot of it is like the black and white whole theme. There's the colors. If there are colors, they're kind of muted. I see some things like skeletons and all the art's made out of garbage. Just things like that. It all kind of adds up to and the way they're composed a lot of times seems a little bit on the scary side. But I was just wondering if that was your intention.
Well, yes, I'm bored by anything that's, I guess, too pleasing to the eye. Again, I guess that's all perspective, but and with you said like the regular human form, is something that I find no real evolution in. I'm first and foremost interested in mutation, but as far as color goes, I think it serves a purpose, but is really something that's gratuitous. Reality is saturated with it. I think black and white adds a certain drama and power to even the most mundane images. It causes you to focus more on sheer contrast instead of variety. As for the concepts, as vague as they are, I think the more distance you put between like the title and the image, the more you open up a world of inspiring thoughts. That to me is the viewer completing the work again. To be vague in a way that attracts, and again, not telling your audience what your emotions are, and more being open to what theirs might be in reaction to it.
You mentioned your wife earlier when you were talking about musical instruments. I'm wondering, is she an artist, and if she's not, does she support your art?
Fully. She's my partner in life, and really the more business-minded one. And she's exactly the missing puzzle piece to whatever one that would be mine, I guess you could say. She's definitely emerging. She prefers to stay behind the scenes more though. But I definitely enjoy collaborating with her in all manners. Whether it's visual or also in the writing and music. She's definitely more than just a muse.
Well, I've got another piece here, and I'm going to dedicate this to your wife and yourself. Just 1 second for that.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird. And if that mockingbird won't sing, Mama's gonna buy you a diamond ring. Anyway,
that was Mockingbird by the Demon Girls. You guys got a song now. It's been great talking to you, man. It looks like we've got about 2 minutes. I told you it goes by fast.
Yes, it does. The best things do.
It never is long enough, But it was a great talking to you, and I look forward to speaking to you further on DeviantArt, and I'll be sure and post up links to your your pages. Any other pages you want me to provide? Just mail those to me over DeviantArt, and I'll be sure to post those too. I look forward to seeing what you come up with next. I know it'll be interesting. It sure was fun talking to you.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate the opportunity. You will hear from me again.
All right. You have a good one. And that's all. This is Dan with Emergence, and I was speaking with Parker Weston. Parker Weston.